Hey guys, if you're anything like me, you are massively depressed. Times are truly tough right now. Political tension is at an all-time high,
They're eating the dogs.
inflation is a bitch, and McDonald's still has not brought back the snack wrap. In times like these, it's hard not to look back on the good old days and wonder what was it about our youth that made it so special. Was it Halloween and Christmas parties at school? Was it George Lopez at 3 in the morning? Or was it the sure fact that we wouldn't ever have to wait too long for another great 3D platformer? These are all experiences that have been stripped away from our precious lives. Well, maybe not George Lopez. He's probably still there. But 3D platformers, what happened to you? Now you're probably saying, but Poogles, what about Hi-Fi Rush or It Takes Two? Those came out too long ago and they were great. And you would be right. However, when I think of 3D platformers, I think of mindlessly gathering collectibles from level to level in bright and colorful worlds, stomping on the heads of predictable enemies, all while fighting my sisters for the controller. Perhaps I'm just thinking of our Italian friend, but there was a simplicity and awe and wonder that was perfected by the guy. No one did it quite like Mario did, but even he hasn't had an outing in 7 years? This is what I'm talking about. We want more from this great genre. No. We need more from this great genre. Now more than ever, we need an entry to break up the cycle of the current oversaturated market of today. Something that shows you don't need microtransactions or seasonal updates or 8 years of development to make a game reach an audience. You need a game that's just fun and works. A game that doesn't ask you to stay updated on current metas or to constantly have you open your wallet. I hold out for games like these. Even if it has been too long, I still have hope. A sliver of hope that continues to burn a flame deep inside that holds on, looking for the day that we can once again be reunited with the one thing that we have been deprived of. So when I found out that the team responsible for Rescue Mission and Playroom were creating a full-fledged AAA 3D platforming experience, it immediately became my most anticipated game of the year and gave me hope that maybe things aren't so bad after all. And now, having lived that experience, I can overwhelmingly gladly tell you, it absolutely delivers.
What did you say when it was? What did you say when it was?
Now, to be honest, I was feeling inspired and I wrote that entire intro at like 5 in the morning before this game was even released. Even that last line, I was that confident. And now having actually beaten the game, I think I might have undersold it. To no surprise, the latest outing from Astro and his friends is everything I want it to be and more. I am overwhelmed by the execution of Team Asobi so much, I don't know where to begin. I guess now, having completed the game, the two words that keep coming back to me are charm and fun. There is not a single second of this game where you aren't smacked in the mouth with amazingly unique and creatively rich experiences that never overstay their welcome, but instead have you longing for more. From beginning to end, I couldn't help myself from smiling from the pure joy radiating consistently throughout. The fun has you pushing forward, excited for what's next, while the charm has you in awe, taking in the beauty of it all. Like peanut butter and jelly, or Jordan and Pippen, separated they're great, but together, they're iconic. It's a recipe for success. But to find out why they work so well together, we must find what makes them so great on their own. To anyone that has played Rescue Mission or Playroom, you already know the visual identity of the Astro universe is not necessarily iconic, but still stunning and so full of life nonetheless. The world of these games oozes with charisma. From the characters to the environments, everything has been carefully crafted to bring an upbeat, playful energy that's hard not to constantly grin at. This game takes all the team has learned and amplifies it to 11. The world is bigger, the characters are sillier, and the clever nods to the history of PlayStation and video games in general are more abundant and deeper than ever before. And listen, before we go on, I know to some these nods are going to feel trivial and maybe even a bit tasteless. I can understand that. As visually delightful this game is, it does feel like Astro Bot might have a bit of an identity issue. I mean, you look at Mario, and not only does he himself look unique and special, but he's got an iconic world and a big baddie to go along with. Donkey Kong's got King K. Rool, Sonic's got Dr. Robotnik, and Astro Bot has what? A generic mischievous alien? I think there's a conversation to be had about this fact and where Astro grows from here, but regardless, I believe PlayStation wanted a new family-friendly platformer no matter what, and they decided to give Astro his big shot. They could have gone back to Sly or Jak and Daxter, or even tried for Crash after all these years and give it any of those guys a modern platformer experience. But they believed in Astro and Team Asobi, which makes me believe this is what PlayStation sees Astro as. He's the mascot for mascots. He and his buddies are the symbol for PlayStation. And personally, I don't care. Matter of fact, I enjoy the nostalgia trip these games take me on. It works for me. I mean, just look at Team Asobi's password. They know what they're doing. Call me a shill or a Sony pony, but I believe it's a good selling point. Maybe going forward, all this game referencing strategy of theirs runs dry, but when you consider, oh fuck, whatever. My point is, why should I deprive myself of a game from a team that knows exactly how to deliver something that is just pure joy? But hey, if you're one of those console war believing fucking losers that's offended by the PlayStation propaganda, well, let me tell you, it's not just nostalgia that brings all the charm to the yard. In fact, we haven't even scratched the surface. In the newest entry of the Astroverse, you can really see and hear them using the PS5 to its fullest potential. Every moment looks, sounds, and even literally feels like what you would hope for from a next-gen experience. Every little tippy-tap, every earworm hum, and every tense pull of the trigger all feels great. And that's where the game shines. It's the small, minuscule details that really take this game to the next level. And you might be thinking, surely all this can't be worthwhile. But let me tell you, it adds up real quick and to be an incredibly cute and charming experience. But first, let me set the scene. This time around, the bots run into trouble, as usual, causing them and their ship to crash land on different nearby planets. This creates a playful, interactive hub for our lovable bunch to all hang out and grow in size as more and more bots and ship parts are found from the other nearby planets. These planets, which act as levels, are simple. You go from point A to point B, but it's what's between these 2 points where things get interesting. Between these 2 points are strategically placed bots and puzzle pieces for you to discover and send back to the planet of the crash site, or the hub, and help further repair the ship. And there are a lot of bots to discover. Astro and his fellow bots again bring that same bubbly energy that is so full of life. You can feel every emotion from the colorful bunch. Right down to the actual design of the bots, the detail put into each and every one of them is so meticulous to the point where you can see the scratches on their shiny metallic bodies. But it's the unique expressions and their physical comedic mannerisms that create a combination that echoes a youthful cadence, resulting in an experience that feels so lively and cozy. Walking around and coming across a bot directing traffic or a bot getting into trouble are just some of the little things that make the game so dang special. Not to mention the bots are inspired by other video games. Finding these little guys along your journey is so rewarding, and not just because it crosses off a checkmark, but the genuine curiosity of who is it going to be is always paid off with a cute little interaction. Throughout the 12 hours it took me to complete this game, these interactions never got old. I was constantly chasing that next one. In my previous video, I talk about having pride in your video game history and knowledge of it, and that nothing will humble you more than not knowing the answer to some video game quiz on TikTok. I was wrong. Nothing will humble you more than coming across one of these special bots and not knowing what game they came from. But even finding these bots I didn't know of still felt rewarding. Finding the ones I knew felt like a reward for the time I spent in their worlds, while the ones I didn't know felt like a history lesson. And it's never in your face too much. The bots are never named directly after their reference. Of course you know who the Kratos bot is, but he's not labeled as so. Instead, it's more just tongue-in-cheek with a cute name and a little punny description to go along. You can tell that the team over at Team Asobi love video games and the history of it. But it's not just the little guys that get a fresh coat of that next-gen paint. Each and every level is beautifully and expertly designed. From the blades of grass to big giant balloons in the air, you can really get a sense that not a single pixel hadn't been intentionally thought of. The world and the levels in it have a synergy that works so well together throughout the whole journey. You'll find a glow following you as you frolic through the scenery. You'll find many wildlife just hanging out. A technically impressive aspect of these levels are these chaotic particle effects that are littered everywhere. I can't speak of just how impressive these are technically, because I'm not a game developer, but they look amazing and are a joy to interact with. Thanks to the haptics of the DualSense, the experience of moving through a great pile of whatever makes it feel as if you are really passing each and every individual piece in that pile. These aren't even moments you necessarily have to interact with either. They're just there, adding a layer to the already beautiful and stimulating levels. And those fancy particles aren't the only example of stuff like this. There are plenty of little treats waiting for you, distracting you from the goal and to just admire the world that makes you feel so alive. Don't try to understand it, just let it happen. And all these levels aren't just beautifully looking, they're also fun looking. One thing I'm a real sucker for in level-based games like this, specifically platformers, is when they can create levels themed around fun and wacky concepts, and this game does not shy away from that idea at all. For a fairly fresh franchise that doesn't have a very specific world history or visual identity attached to it, they're able to create a level, for example, themed around a casino and have it not make sense, but also not make sense. Does that make sense? Not being bound to a well-known world with well-known aspects allows the team to be creatively free, and boy, do you see this freedom. Of course you're going to have your desert and your water levels, but what if I told you the winter level was actually a dessert level? I mean, just look at this. The snow is freaking frosting. Does it make sense? No. Does it not make sense? Also no. You following still? You can really see the fun the team had making these levels. Having the enemies and the vegetation and even the textures adapt to the theme all go a long way to make levels different from one another, thus making each and every one of them stand out and be memorable on their own. This also comes with a level of surprise, making you curious of what creative and innovative level comes next. And let's of course not forget about the sounds of the game. When I say sounds, I don't just mean the music, but let's talk about that first. Now, I can sit here and potentially tell you how the music delightfully exhibits great tone that's reminiscent of the work of the greats. See, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not a musician, so instead, I'll let you hear it for yourself. What I can say is how well it matches the lively upbeat levels, Jordan and Pippin. And like I said, I can't exactly put into words to describe how great the music is, but let me put it like this. Even after beating the game, I still found myself humming some of the melodies. When it comes to the sound, like walking on different terrain and materials, that's where it gets really impressive. There could be a lot going on all at once in a single moment, but the sound never gets too cluttered. It's just another one of those things that makes the game so technically impressive. I mean, just listen to this transition. Oh, so good. For me, there was not a second, a frame, a pixel where the game doesn't make you feel anything less than impressed. The visually stunning levels combined with its ear-scratching music and sounds create a beautiful blend that rivals the greatest of all time. But for a game that's only around 8 or 12 hours long, it's important that what you do in these games is just as impressive. And I'm here to tell you that it absolutely succeeds in that too. So something you should know about me is that I'm a big story guy. I love movies, I love TV, and I even like to read every now and then. Hell, I even have like 10 tattoos inspired by movies. Storytelling is very important to me, but while I enjoy a good story, when it comes to video games, gameplay is and always will be the most important thing to me. I don't care if the story is good or bad in the game, as long as it's fun to play, I will probably enjoy my time. Thankfully, Astro is fun. Like, insanely fun. It's the most fun I've had in a game in a long time. Maybe since Mario Odyssey? I don't know, maybe I'm just truly a sucker for 3D platformers, but there's something so pure about the experience that I find almost therapeutic. For a game like Astro Bot or Mario Odyssey, you don't have to worry about inventory management or skill trees or all that difficult boss encounters. No, all you have to worry about is your next jump. You don't need to worry about balance when you are in complete control. You decide your own difficulty. Thankfully for this game, it controls exceptionally well. Every action is so fluid and precise. Every jump, every hover, every punch, you're always in complete control. The only real obstacle that stands in your way is yourself. That's what I find so rewarding in games like this. Every jump from a platform to platform feels rewarding, and Team Asobi carefully crafted each and every level to ensure that everything just works without ever holding your hand too much. One thing I find reviewers not giving enough attention to is Astro's hover ability, because not only does this act as a simple movement ability, but the lasers that come out of Astro's little feet act as an aid, allowing for you to see exactly where you're going to land. It reminds me a lot of Flush from Sunshine, and I think it's criminally underrated. It's so simple, yet so effective. Now, of course, this isn't a new feature to the franchise, but that doesn't mean this game isn't full of surprises. Because just when you think you've seen it all, the game surprises you again and again and again. The game brings many new abilities that the levels are intentionally crafted around for. I don't want to spoil too much because the joy of encountering one of these new abilities for the first time is an experience that you should have on your own. They may seem like gimmicks at first, but once you get your hands on them, you'll see how they are constantly being used in unique and surprising ways that are always innovating on itself. The best credit I can give some of them is that they could probably make a whole game centered around specific ones, because just when you think you've worn these abilities out, the game finds a new and clever way to use it. It never beats a dead horse. The same can be said for the bots you collect along the way. I know I already talked about how rewarding it can feel when you find that VIP bot that you've been looking for, but I want to talk about just how searching for any bot is such a great system in a game like this. Like I said, personally, when it comes to 3D platformers, I want the ones that are littered with collectibles to be found. I want to be searching every nook and cranny for that one cleverly hidden collectible. Astro Bot does this to the highest degree, except in this game, you'll find a collectible and it's dressed as Parappa the Rappa. And even after finding these things, they then find their way back to the hub where they just hang out, doing their own thing. They aren't just trophies. The game cleverly uses these bots as a means of progression. As you discover and return more and more bots, they help build a little community that, after settling in, will follow you around, aiding you in finding even more bots and puzzle pieces, thus progressing more in the journey, allowing for new levels to be unlocked. It's a great system where even if you don't care for the nostalgia, it still encourages you to be extra aware in each level to look for each and every one. And if you're anything like me, knowing exactly how many collectibles are in each and every level is extremely satisfying. It acts as a checklist that roughly tells you when and where you might come across one, never wasting your time. Crossing them off a list one by one is like getting that good scratch on the itch. It's great, I love it, put it in every game. There's also coins scattered everywhere throughout for you to grab. It's another way to stimulate you as you cause havoc on anything and everything on site as you search for the next one like a bad habit. But it's not just mindlessly collecting. You can use these coins to redeem them at the shop that will supply outfits and ship colors. But the real treats are the accessories for your VIP bots. It gives them a bit more to do in the hub while also showing off a bit of their history. Now, as fun as this game is, there's a common discussion I've been hearing regarding the difficulty. I think it's too easy to latch onto this idea as actual criticism of the game. For a game as masterful as this, it's hard to find something bad about it unless you're a grouch who looks through a microscope to find anything to be critical about. But on the surface, the thing that's most apparent as kinda maybe possibly being an issue could be the difficulty. And yeah, I'm not afraid to say it, the game's pretty easy. The game has challenge levels that definitely require a bit more finesse, but overall, it's never really all that punishing. So, is this actually a problem? I say, who gives a shit? The game is meant to be played by all ages, so if you have a problem with that, I feel sorry for you. Go play Elden Ring or Chain Together then, I guess. I don't know. In the end, it was the culmination of all the small moments that took this game from being a well-playing cute platformer to a masterpiece, no matter the difficulty. The cute little interactions and the nods to the history of video games are what's going to make this game stand out. But it's the big set pieces, constant earworms, and the regularly evolving innovation that's going to make this game be remembered. And by the end, if you're still offended by the nostalgia trip, again, I feel sorry for you. If you also feel the same way about 3D platformers in general, go fuck yourself. Astro Bot captures a childlike wonder unlike any other game. It makes me wonder if other studios are gonna look at it and think, damn, we should give this a try. Just give me more, that's all I'm asking. Banjo and Kazooie. Hell, give me Donkey Kong 64 too. Do whatever, I don't care. Just don't make me wait 7 more years for one of these. Now this may only be my 3rd video, but it's my first video talking about a modern game. And because this isn't a retro replay, kinda wanna give it a rating. It's weird because I think ratings are kinda pointless, but it feels right for this one. Typically when I rate games just for myself, I think about what's in it that takes it from a 7 to an 8 or an 8 to a 9 or so on. But for a game that's as great as this one, I'm gonna do something a little different. Instead of looking at what takes it to an 8 or a 9 or a 10, I'm gonna look at how anything in it could bring it down from a 10 to a 9. And you know, after giving this a lot of thought, I couldn't think of a single gosh darn thing. This game is a masterpiece. It's getting a 10. I don't care. Screw you. It's great. What else can I say? I loved it so much I went for the platinum, which I don't really ever do. Do yourself a favor, and if you have the ability to, go play it for yourself. But first, consider liking and subscribing, and maybe even leaving a comment. It helps with the algorithm. And hey, if you still disagree with me, still leave a comment. It helps with the algorithm still. Thanks again for watching. See ya.